Hey guys, Zach here with GI Tactical, and today we kind of want to do an honest overview of the Krytac Vector. So this has been out for a little bit. It's been kind of limited just because the quantities are still making their way out. The production is still in process. If you want to get one of these guns, we do say get your pre-order in now so that you can make sure that you're put on the next line of recipients for these guns. So let's go over, like I said, very honestly what we think. So likes real quick. We'll start from the top and work our way down. We really like the iron sights on this thing. The Defiance flip-up sights are fantastic. They're basically on par with Magbull Imbus Pro iron sights or flip-up sights. They're very low profile, which is very nice. They snap very nice into place. It's very solid. I can't hit on that enough just how nice these iron sights are. Very positive locking, very easy to adjust. You don't need any special tools or anything to get your elevation or your windage adjusted at all, so it's really easy to get your on-the-fly adjustment for these flip-up sights. So working our way down from there, we'll go to the stock. Being able to bend this out of the way certainly makes it a nice compact platform, but that's nothing new. We already know that about this gun. Selector switches for safe or fire. Very solid, locks into place depending on, very well for both sides that you can work it from. Your selector switch for your semi-automatic 2-round burst and full auto. Still very positive, albeit a little weaker than the safety selector, which is a little bit more positive, but also feels like it has almost 2 positions in it. So that also falls into a little bit of a dislike there. So you can kind of like begin to turn it off, and you feel like you've gotten it all the way turned off to be able to start shooting, but it's not yet. And then you can flip it all the way and you're actually firing. So again, with some likes, performance-wise, this gun will shoot about 180 feet out of the box using 8.25 gram BB. That's really solid performance for such a piece like this. It does come shooting about 350 feet per second using 8.20 gram BB, and it does come with a 95 round mid-capacity magazine, which is still pretty reliable even on the full auto setting running 11.1. So based on the gun, it still performs about on par with every other Krytac gun that's come out, be it the SPR or the CRB, albeit a little bit lower FPS. The quick change spring is pretty neat though. You just pop the 2 pins at the base here, and you're able to remove the entire spring guide from the gearbox, which is built into the gun. We really like that. It's a neat, innovative design that they've done for this gearbox, and it's very beefy, very beefy. The gun feels very solid. I wouldn't expect to break this anytime soon. Me running around with it personally, I made a lot further shots than I expected, a lot tighter grouping than I expected, and the hop was a lot easier to work with, being that I didn't have to pull the charging handle back, lock, and then kind of adjust. I could easily see it while still maintaining a line of sight over any kind of target that was moving at me. But now for dislikes. I will preface by saying I've never really been a big fan of the Vector platform, whether it's the real, the gas blowback, or the electric version of the gun. And that's just because it feels kind of weird having the base of the trigger kind of be the line for the barrel. I understand that being with the real gun, the recoil mechanism derives that that's how it's going to function. That's fine, but I have a problem with height over bore. So with these iron sights flipped up or center line on an optic, I'm sitting 3.5 to almost 4 inches over the bore. I really don't like that. That means I have to really work my holdovers in to figure out where I'm shooting for an airsoft gun. This is more of a point and shoot kind of platform. With that, it works great. We do like it for a point-and-shoot platform, but for more of the accurized shots, trying to get that lineup, you need to know exactly where you're aiming and exactly where your shot's going to fall, and be really good at gauging distance to be able to get those shots in the exact spot that you want. If you have a small crevice to shoot through, or if someone's just peeking their head up over cover, you're probably going to miss with this platform. Now, it is accurate when you have those open-range shots, and being in a CQB environment, if that's what you're using this for, it's what you should be using it for. It's going to make those shots very well. Also on dislikes, I already mentioned the selector switch is it's positive, but you feel like you almost have a false break before you actually get all the way through. That's frustrating in and of itself, but the actual trigger pull, there is a micro switch in there, is what it feels like a micro switch. We've taken it apart, we see that it's actually a dual press contact array is what it kind of looks like, but you have to make a very definitive pull on the trigger to get a shot to break. If you try to flutter on the trigger or spam on it, you might half or quarter cycle the gun and not actually get a shot off. I found that when I was going around a couple tight corners and I would come around on a couple different people, I would try to pull the trigger really quickly and just line across the people as I could, but I would half or quarter cycle the gun without actually getting a shot off on somebody. That's a little frustrating to me because I'm used to, even on my AK platforms, which require really pushing the contact array all the way in to get a good shot off, to be able to just flutter on the trigger a little easier. Even on some of my real guns, I can flutter on the trigger easier than I can with this. Having to get a full trigger pull isn't really a problem, but that's milliseconds of time where I could have gotten a second shot off that might have been more accurate than my first. So a bit of a gripe for me. Another gripe comes into the ambidextrous ability of this gun. While everything is ambidextrous from the way that you're able to select everything, it's not really great for a left-handed person. Number one, if you close the stock down, you've pretty much voided all your left-hand controls. I can't really access with my thumb over here. I have to use my primary finger, my shooting finger, to be able to get that off, which, again, that's milliseconds of time. In a fast skirmish, if I want to flip that down and start shooting people, I'll probably get wasted. Also, flipping to the semi-automatic 2-round burst or full auto is not as simple going off with your left hand. And it just doesn't control as well on the left side as it does the right. Next up for really being ambidextrous, it's not, again, for magazine reloads. If I insert this mag using my right hand and then want to reload on it, I have to kind of get a wonky, like, monkey class kind of grip to this thing to be able to get the reload in. It's just not so simple having to come up with the opposite hand and then still being able to reload, versus if I'm reloading with my left hand as a primary being right-handed, it's very fluid. I can lock it in, still be able to push through everything. I mean, if you're just dropping your magazines, it doesn't really matter what side you're doing it from, but you are paying for these magazines. It'd be a little nicer if they were able to make that ambidextrous. So all that being said, we kind of have to focus on the price point. Being that this performs about the same as every other Krytac out there, which performs fairly similar to a lot of other platforms, $450, $440 is kind of a high price to pay for something that does just as well as everything else out there. I'm not really a fan of that. Will I be buying this? No. Do I think it's a good gun? Yes. And the biggest thing about this is it fills a niche market. If you're looking for something that's not an M4 or not an AK, if you're tired of the G36s, dominating fields, or P90s or whatever, and you want something that's a pistol caliber, small, compact, great for CQB, but you can still get some good range with, then the Vector is great for that. The gearbox is phenomenal. It's very well built. You know, this is not as responsive as I'd be looking for in a gun, but it still is going to maintain about the same as every other platform out there, while being completely different and just as capable as all the other platforms. Magazine availability is getting a little bit better, and the production line is going to continue to keep up with putting more and more of these guns out. If this is something that you want to get, do it. Me personally, though, it's not the end-all be-all of the SMG world. You can certainly find some that are way more capable, way more skirmishable than something like this. However, this is an awesome gun for it actually being a working electronic Vector out in the real world. So stay tuned with us. We'll have some more videos up as we can get them. If you want to check out the Vector, it's still be in our store for a little bit longer here at GI Tactical in Virginia. So if you wanted to get your hands on one and you want to kind of like verify for, you know, what we've been saying, or you want to see for yourself, just come check it out in the store while we still have it. We'll see you around.